All right, guys, the Eastern Conference, with the addition of LeBron James and the potential addition of Kawhi Leonard and some of the other major moves teams in the East have made, is absolutely stacked. There are 11 teams, I believe, heading into this upcoming season that genuinely believe they are going to be a top 6 playoff team. Not a play-in team, but a legitimate playoff team. I checked the odds on FanDuel this morning, and these are the current odds as of 9:30 this morning to win the Eastern Conference. Not to win the NBA Finals, to win the Eastern Conference. The Knicks, the defending champs, still the favorites at plus 320. The Philadelphia 76ers have skyrocketed up to the second spot at plus 380. The Celtics, third, plus 500. The Raptors, with Kawhi Leonard, I'm assuming is being factored into this, at 4, plus 750. The Pistons, the reigning 1 seeds in the East, plus 850. The Cavaliers, with the 6th best odds to win the East after missing out on LeBron. They're 12-1. And the Miami Heat, who added Giannis Antetokounmpo, is at 13-1. That doesn't include a few other teams, including the Charlotte Hornets and a few others who think they are legitimate playoff threats as well, including the Atlanta Hawks. Jason, when you look at the Eastern Conference, where do you think the Cavs stack up, and would you consider them a lock to be a playoff team, meaning seeds 1 through 6? Or could you make the case that they're maybe a play-in team or even on the outside looking in?
If they're healthy, they're a playoff team. Can we just, are we just assuming health for stuff like this?
Yes. Yeah, I think assume across the board, including Philly.
But I mean, that's also a risky assumption to make when you look at Boston and Paul George and the injuries that he's had, and Toronto and Kawhi and the injuries.
If you want to factor in likelihood of key injuries, go ahead.
But I mean, I'm saying if we're going to play the health game, that everyone's going to stay relatively healthy and everyone's going to play 65-ish games, which never happens. But there's no other way to have this conversation, really. Yeah, Cavs are a playoff team. I could quibble, I could put them ahead of Detroit. I don't know that I can make a staunch case to put them ahead of any other team on that list. Toronto nearly beat them without some of their best horses, and they're supposed to be adding Kawhi. We'll see how that shakes out. You could easily make the case that Miami's ahead of them with Giannis. I don't know that I would go that far, but I would listen to the argument.
Sure.
So yeah, it is a rapidly improving East. I don't think there's any question about that. And who's missing from that? Orlando's not on there. Atlanta's not on there. Washington's going to be better. I'm not saying Washington's a top 6 team, but Washington's going to to be better if they.
The Pacers, by the way, with Halliburton back.
Halliburton's back. Right. I didn't even mention that.
You basically have all but 1 or 2 or 3 teams probably.
You're going to have to be healthy.
You're
going to have to be healthy and good to be a top 6 team, to be a playoff team, no doubt. And Atlanta just played a really, really good playoff series against the team that then steamrolled everybody else.
Yeah.
And they're young, they're getting
and
better.
They added Lou Dort.
Now, go back to and think about all the conversations last year. It was almost a foregone conclusion that, whoever comes out of the West is going to be the NBA champion.
Mm-hmm.
And then this rising Phoenix, what happened in New York, where they took this magic carpet ride. Can that be repeated? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think they're not going to sneak up on the league like they did. So, but I got to tell you guys, I'm with you, Jay. I think they're at the bottom end of that playoff team, that 1 through 6. And it kind of speaks now to how wide open it is, but how competitive it is.
Yeah.
In that I could see the Cavs finishing in the 3, and I can see them finishing 9
and
or
7.
10.
Yeah.
So I mean, the variance there is pretty wide. And I was reminded on Friday, somebody had sent me an email and said, you guys sound like you were writing them off for next year. You guys have 6th and 7th. I didn't want to come across as saying we're writing them off, but James Harden's coming back, right?
Yes.
So you're going to have a team, and just forget about what, I know it's hard to do that. The East got a lot better. Detroit got better. Indy, by getting healthy, got better. I don't know that Boston is better. Miami's better. I think New York is probably about the same team, and I think Philly got a lot better. I could see the Cavs. It all depends on how things start. I hope they get off to a good start. If it goes sideways early, at some point, I fear the dismantling of this entire Core 4 project, or whatever you wanted to call it. I think it's in its last legs. If you don't bear fruit soon, then you're cutting the vine, because I don't know how they're suddenly going to get better with these players doing nothing while the rest of the East has definitively improved itself.
Well, Evan Mobley's going to have to take a leap.
That's got to happen. That leap that Jay has been talking about, the leap where he's got to be your best player. if he can take that leap and he's a better player than Donovan and he can be counted on in the clutch, yeah, I can see it.
Mike, put that list back up. Two things that jumped out
Do you
to
want
me.
the odds or the
odds
11
list, yeah.
teams? The odds.
Just a quick, when I first saw that, and obviously I knew we were going to discuss this, the Sixers just made this, right? And they've declared themselves off-season world champions. They're not even the favorite.
Yeah.
That speaks to the volatility. And Giannis wanted traded to a contender, and they're just as likely to be in a play-in as they are in the top 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, like, it is, and that's not Indiana. That's not Atlanta. That's not Orlando, who fired their coach and thinks they have a good core. And they do. They do have a decent core.
I still like Orlando.
Yeah. So, like, this is a really, really, really interesting.
I mean, I would throw Charlotte out. I'd throw Milwaukee out. Washington's going to be better, but they're not in the conversation.
Hey, are
that we're
you sure
talking
you're
about.
throwing Charlotte out? That team ended the season red hot last year. The
Yeah.
Naz Reid fit's a really good. I know they lost LaMelo, but LaMelo hadn't always been the most.
I'll say it
consistent.
too. Yeah, I'm throwing them out.
Do you think they can finish top 6?
I don't think top 6, but that list that we just had.
I
up,
mean,
those
might they
11
get in
teams,
at 10?
I
those
think they can
18
finish top 6 for one reason. They're young and going to play hard, like injury risk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which we're talking about here.
If
is the
They
great
take that
unknown.
leap like Detroit took.
Yeah.
These 11
Hey,
teams,
how
by the
do
way,
you think-
just so everyone knows why these 11 are put together, I asked Ant to put the logos of the 11 teams I think that they believe internally could be a top 6 team.
Yeah.
I don't think Washington, as much improvement as they've made, is ready to go from the number 1 overall pick to a top 6
totally agree.
playoff team.
I totally agree.
But these are the teams that I think internally in their own front offices
They believe.
can
Yeah.
be a top 6 playoff.
Jay,
team.
how do you think Milwaukee Bucks fans are embracing the Jimmy Haslam ownership of the team? Think of the enthusiasm around that club when he bought in. They were coming off an NBA championship.
You know, it's funny because I don't know.
Say it.
Well, when he bought in, we got too much going on. I'll take 30 seconds on this. When he bought in, the guy that he replaced didn't have the cash to meet payroll with where payroll was going.
Right.
They needed Jimmy's checkbook.
Sure.
And that's why he sold, and that's why Jimmy got in. And I remember talking to people in Milwaukee saying, okay, that checkbook comes with strings.
Oh, it does.
Just so you know. Like, you may want that money up front, but that's a loan shark interest charges, and there's some stuff that's going to go on the back end.
Read the fine print.
And that is pretty much exactly what's happened.
Yeah. I mean, the team's
And-
dismantled.
But at the time, they had Brooke Lopez, and they had
Chris Middleton.
Middleton.
Chris Middleton. They had a lot of
They were-
heavy contracts. They had a lot of big contracts, and Lazary just didn't have the liquidity
Yeah.
to meet payroll, so he didn't have enough money. So that's why Jimmy.
They got a dancing
in.
partner. I'm just not sure they
But
got
then
the
he
right
stepped on
dancing
their feet.
partner.
But then he kind of
Yeah,
stepped on some toes.
I'll
knocked
say
him
this
off the
though,
floor.
I am not disputing anything here. I'm nodding along.
Yeah.
I think they made a good trade. I think they got a lot of good young players
Yeah.
for Giannis in a position themselves now to be, not this year, but
Yeah.
as these teams get older
Down the road.
down the road, I
Yeah.
think they're in a good spot.
It was
what
just
happens.
funny that right
Cleveland's
after,
done that here too with football.
as soon as
Got a lot of-
as soon as Jimmy's stake became official, they had to fire Mike Budenholzer. I'm like, well, he's got a lot of experience in firing coaches.
It was this time of year when he bought the Browns. Remember, people were partying in the streets.
Yes.
Oh,
Like,
he had a
this-
Steelers tie.
This is the savior.
Yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, now Randy Lerner was just not interested in being the owner of the team, and the team had obviously gone in the tank. But like, people were like,
Mike-
"Okay, we got the guy."
Yeah,
I
we
wanna
thought
do
we
this as
did.
a group
Mike,
of-
where do you have them?
I don't think they're top 3. I was having this conversation. I would struggle to put them 4. I think they're 5.
Yeah.
But if you want to make the case and argue they're 5, anywhere from 5 to 10,
Yeah,
I'd have a really hard time rebuting.
Mike, those
And
those
prove it.
spots sometimes are 3-4 games apart.
Yeah, I have
We've
a really
seen
hard
years
time.
where the difference between 5 and 10 is 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
And this is what I want to do. Steve, you throw this graphic up. Which teams do you think for sure, if today's the marking day and James Harden is back with the Cavs, for sure you would take ahead of Cleveland? I want to prove a point with this. The teams you for sure would take ahead. As a group, let's make this list.
Well, we can agree New York.
New
Philly.
York, Boston, Philly, right?
I have no problem. I don't know about Boston, but I think I'm pretty sure on New York and Philly.
I would take all 3: New York, Boston.
You would take
Philly.
Boston too?
Yeah.
You've been outvoted on Boston.
I'm the
so
odd man out.
goes
Let's put Boston ahead of the Cavs.
The next group. Who are you think are in the same
Ooh.
or let's do this. Which teams are you for sure certain the Cavs will be better than on this list? Charlotte?
Yes,
Is there anyone else you could say for sure you think
I think the
Cavs
Cavs are going to be better than Miami.
I do too. I think they will be better.
But
than
if
Miami.
Toronto gets Kawhi with the way some of those young guys are
And what are the
coming on,
what's the likelihood of that happening? Like, knowing what you know, is this thing going to get overturned?
I don't. Obviously, the fact that it got held up says something's cooking. I
Exactly.
don't know any more than that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised And I think the league is a little frustrated that the investigation has gone on as long as it has. They thought that there'd be clarity. I mean, I was having conversations with people a few months back, and they thought it was wrapping up. And now it's July, and we're still going on this.
Should LeBron put out a tweet that says, Adam Silver, the league has to know what's going on. Make a decision already.
This is out of Adam's hands. Adam didn't have all the information yet.
It all goes uphill, I know, but like make a call.
So, I mean, ultimately, I think I shouldn't say. I don't know. I don't know if he winds up in Toronto or not.
If he does, I still think. I think that given the chance for Harden to play with this group for an entire regular season, I think that will make a difference. There were still growing pains when they hit the playoffs. They were anything but a well-oiled machine. If they continue to come together and grow and everybody gets better and Mobley takes that step, I think they better be better than Toronto.
I mean, Toronto took them to a Game 7 without some of their most important pieces.
I know they did. Well, then let's talk about Detroit. Detroit easily could have beaten the Cavs last year.
So the point of I was trying to make,
they got better.
The point I'm trying to make is there's a logjam in the middle where you could argue pro Cleveland and against Cleveland and pro. I mean, I think Indiana's going to be really good with Halliburton back.
I do too.
So like, there's a logjam in the middle of the Eastern Conference. I don't think anyone right now could put them top 3, but 4 through basically anyone other than Charlotte on this list, I think you can make a case that they have just as much reason to feel good about themselves going into the season as Cleveland would, even though personally I think Cleveland's better than some of these teams. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm picking them 10th. There's a case to be made that middle of the Eastern Conference
Cavs
is
are clearly
such a
better
logjam.
than Orlando too.
I do too. I
mean,
you could make the case that with the new coach, the talent, that maybe they take that step forward. The Cavs take a little step back. It's in that logjam.
I mean, it's
situation.
hard to say. The league does change year to year. I mean, just look at, what is it, 9 years now in a row that we've had a new champion?
8 years in a row, and you saw Indiana go from losing in Game 7 in the finals to having the worst record in basketball.
Well, and that's obviously injury related, but it's tough to repeat health.
It plays a role. Yeah,
it's really tough to repeat all that. It is all the stars have to align, and I like looking at it like this. Maybe there's going to be a new champion this year. That puts us in the mix.